What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you're checking out Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. Today, we're doing a podcast audit session with my pod pal, Christine from the Matters of Light podcast. Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
I'm excited to have you here. I love doing these podcast audits. I love digging in and seeing if we can get a little bit of growth in the right direction, a little bit of momentum today. So, what would things look like? Like, let's say we're sitting down 6 months from today, having another conversation, and you've been implementing what we talked about today, and things are going really, really well. We've gained some momentum and traction with your show. Give me a few descriptive terms on what that would look like, what that would feel like for you 6 months from today if it's going really well.
For me, it would be a bigger audience, special guest, very interesting people that I can talk to because I love to talk to everybody. I basically go with the flow, and I'm out there to talk about any topic. Nothing is, not taboo. It's all, I just want to discuss everything. I love people, and I want to help people. And I want to give them the best of me because it's about them, not about me.
Cool. Okay. What would you say is the primary motivator for you for doing the show? And just to kind of plant some ideas, it would be some people want to grow an audience and kind of build a business out of that. Some people want to get sponsorships and things like that. Some people want to, become a coach or sell programs, products, or services, or create an event. And some people just want to go out and kind of have a show and a media channel and have experience as a podcaster, and that's kind of their payoff. So any of those feeling like a fit for your motivation for doing the actual show itself?
Oh yeah, I want to grow it into a business. This is my dream job, and I want to take this and let it fly. I just have so much that I want to talk about and offer, and I want to make it into a real legitimate business, and I just want to go nationwide if I could. I have aspirations, and I want to do it. I'm not afraid. I'm willing to go out there and do what I need to do to put myself out in front, and I'm not afraid.
Cool. Okay. So my next follow-up question to that, as far as building a business and monetizing the show, there are a couple different routes that we can take. Are you thinking more of, I want to grow the audience and get sponsors and things like that? Or are you more like, I want to create an online course or an event or programs, products, and services, or a little bit of both? Any thoughts there?
I am a little bit of both. I fall into that category.
Okay.
That's where I see myself.
Okay, cool. And that's definitely possible. Now, for me, where I really tend to lean into the programs, products, and services side, because it's very possible to grow a brand and a show and get sponsors, but it's a long play. It is maybe even a decade long effort to get to that point as an independent podcaster. If you see a lot of like comedians and people that have big brands, they step into it and they monetize and make big bucks right away. But people like you and I that are starting from scratch with an audience and a brand and a niche and just initially kicking out those conversations, it's a longer play. Usually when it comes to sponsorships, once people cross 20,000 downloads a month, that's when sponsors will have a conversation with you. You're averaging like 5,000 downloads an episode. Like those are kind of the numbers that we want to get to there. Now, in my opinion, the easier play for monetization and the way I like to help people navigate is with having that program, product, or service. And they're like, okay, I am a consultant or coach in this area, and I teach on that area in my show. And then there's kind of a natural bridge that forms, or you have an event or an online workshop or something. It's way easier to earn meaningful income from that monetization model earlier on. Is that making sense so far?
Yes, it does. I mean, I do help empower people. There are various courses that I offer. I've been working on my spiritual growth now for over 25 years. So I have a lot of
Nice.
tools under my belt and things that I can offer to the public.
Great.
And
Great, great, great.
yeah,
All right. So when it
definitely.
comes to being an ideal client of yours, like describe who that is. If you know there's a specific type of person that you love to help when it comes to a paying client.
Well, basically, I want somebody to be able to pay me. Um, and that ideal client really is somebody who has just hit like the 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 glass of their spiritual growth. It's like, you're at a
Yeah.
certain point where you stop, but then there's this window that you have to break through to go to the next level. That's the type of person I'm looking for. And I'm looking for somebody who's committed to learning and to growing, because I also guide people, and I help them to know themselves. And and in order to do that, you know, we have to work together, you
Right.
know. And I need someone who's committed, who's willing to pay, and who wants to explore themselves.
Okay. Okay, that's very descriptive. I feel like I got some terms in there that I really like too. One phrase that I really like that I kind of want to put a pin in and come back to soon is
Hmm.
spiritual growth breakthrough. That like when you talk about that glass ceiling and just busting through that,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of shows about spiritual growth and like that can be categorized. I mean, it's a huge category.
Right.
But when you talk about like somebody that's kind of already been on that journey and they just feel like, all right, now I've hit rock bottom. I've come out of that, but I want to go to
Right.
the next thing and I'm bumping my head against the ceiling. I like that description. I feel like that's vivid enough that we could really work with that with your show. And you know, when I put my marketing hat on, I go, that's pretty marketable. That's
Oh,
something
great.
different that stands out. Now, again, thinking about your ideal client, are there any other descriptive terms as far as like an age group? Is it baby boomers? Is it millennials? Is it male, female? And I'm talking about your ideal. We all want to serve everybody, but if it was for you, like if you had to pick any of those defining qualities, would you say a certain percentage? Like with me, a very high, like 80+% of my clients are female. So like that's something I can market towards
Right.
when I'm talking to people. So anything like that pop up?
Uh, well, I have realized, looking at the stats of my show, that a lot of female listen to me, but I also want to bring in a lot of males, because my message right now is geared towards helping men and supporting them in their own growth. Look, the world is changing. Um, we have moved into a female energy, which is taking place out there in the world, and they're calling this the golden age. And I want to help men understand their female side of themselves and support them, because this change is really has been rough on a lot of men. And I support men completely. I think some men have gotten a bad rap. I'm going to be honest with you. And I think they need that support. And I'm also into having women healing their relationships with each other also, which is a big piece of it. You know, once women are calm, you know, men become calm, because we do affect men very much. And that is a very important message to help bring this collective consciousness into agreement with each other so everything can go smoothly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So where I was kind of getting with that is when we talk about branding and marketing and growing a podcasting brand, the
Mm.
more specific we can get, the better. And when people come on the show, we talk a lot about the name of the show and how that, impacts,
Yeah.
certain, your ideal clients slash ideal listeners actually being able to find you. So,
Yeah.
a conversation that we usually have is, we may need to rebrand the title a little bit with Matters of
Yeah.
Light. Um, like my recipe for a perfect podcast name,
Mm-hmm.
there's basically three zones that I need the answer to be yes for on all three, or we have to seriously consider looking at a rebrand or a tweak. The first
Sure.
question is, when I hear the name, do I know exactly what it is about and who it's for? And with Matters of Light, I don't know either one of those things. Like, it doesn't
Well, it's
say.
very yeah, it's true. It's very vague, and I started off with that years ago. And I'm realizing I do need to be more focused with it.
Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of like a blanket type of name, because when you work in the light, and this is the type of training that I offer, it is about light. So that's why I call it Matters of
Yeah.
Light,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And
But yeah, of
we all do
course.
that. Like, I've rebranded every show I've ever launched because I never got it right the first time. So, like, this is
Yeah.
a conversation. And that's why I bring it up so often. I kind of make a promise to my audience and people that are brave enough to come on and do a show like this. Like, this isn't easy.
Hmm.
But my promise is honesty. And if I see something that I think could dramatically increase your ability to get the right people listening to your show, I'm dedicated and tell you, like, this is exactly what I would do. So let me just say, like, okay,
Sure.
if you, Christine, are like, hey, let's explore some naming ideas, something that I would put out there is, well, again, to go back to my three kind of check boxes I like to check. The first
Hmm.
one is, when I hear it, I want to know exactly what it's about and who it's for. Then the second thing is, I want some sort of a keyword in there in the title that is very, very searchable, that we can use to pull in the right people. That, like, that's the word they're putting in Apple Podcasts when they're looking for a show like yours. And then
Right.
the third checkbox is, I want some sort of identifying term, so that when they do search that word, your show and 10 or 20 other shows pop up. What is the identifying term that they go, ooh, that one's for me? Like, I could have just named my show Business School, but it's called
Hmm.
Podcasting Business School. So that way, if people are interested in podcasting, that's the identifying term where they go, ooh, that one. They search business, they get all these other business shows, but they see
Yeah.
Podcasting Business School. Like, that sounds like it's for me. Um, so, like I said earlier, we put that pin in that phrase, the spiritual growth breakthrough. I
Yeah.
like that. Even if you add for, and then spiritual growth breakthroughs for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, 40 plus females, any sort of identifying term, like, you could put that in there. And that's kind of the formula. That's not like necessarily like this. I'm
Right.
not saying like that's the name you have to use, but that's just an example of spiritual growth is a great keyword phrase that your ideal listeners could potentially be searching for.
Yes.
And then the word breakthrough, I just love that, because that again identifies within that niche. This isn't like necessarily for beginners or rock bottom people. This is people that are building that momentum and capping out. So we got to break through that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
any thoughts, feelings about just the concept of how to kind of what a rebrand might look like?
Spiritual growth for seekers of truth,
There we go.
because
So,
that's what it's about. It's about truth. And
that's just the little formula. I think that would just be kind of be my initial recommendation, because I've had shows that I've worked with that are like, they have a very vague, broad name, and we just flip this switch, and all of a sudden they've doubled, tripled, 10x their downloads, because now the right people can find them. And it didn't take any extra
yeah.
marketing or social media or anything.
Yeah.
Because I know
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
all short on time, right? Like, that's an
Right.
issue, is like, we don't have, most people are starting as side hustlers and doing this with another job and family obligations and all
Yeah.
the other things. And so, if we can do something that's very easy to reach the right people, that's always a really good thing. So, okay. So, past that, I think one of the key things is really looking at, if you want to build a business out of this and potentially replace your income or have a really
Hmm.
lucrative side hustle, if those are goals, we need to look at expert positioning on your show. So, are you doing any solo episodes, or are you primarily doing interviews right now?
I'm doing solo, and
Okay.
I've interviewed maybe about one person.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, honestly, I think you're on the right path with that. I would primarily focus on the solo episodes. When it comes to selling your own programs, products, and services, the real key thing is expert positioning. And if you interview a lot of people that are trying to sell programs, products, and services, they're only doing interviews. And I'm like, the other
Mhm.
person's the expert. This is why you aren't making
Right.
any sales.
Right.
So I would focus on that. I think you could create a very interesting coaching style episode like what we're doing here, where
Okay.
you invite audience members on. And when you dip in, with business and things like this, entrepreneurship, it's a lot easier because we're all looking to improve. And it's not like embarrassing or anything like that. But when you get
Right.
into personal growth, weight loss, therapy, things like
Mhm.
that, that can be a little bit more touchy because there could be some open wounds that they don't really want to bring up and talk about on a podcast.
Right.
So we always have to be aware of that and frame it all as a very simple kind of boost session. And we the prep for the session like this is going to be really important, where you frame it out and go, kind of, where do you want to focus, and let them check some check boxes, and then you kind of go into that, so we know, like, okay, this is an okay place to play in, we can play on this
Yeah.
playground here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you focus on that, and it's all about just initiating momentum. Like, what is the one next step that you would recommend to help them most effectively break through that glass ceiling that they're nudging up against? So it's kind of like, let's identify it. Let's come up with one or two strategies that you think would really help. And I think that type of a session, it's going to be very inspiring. It's going to be very helpful. And I think, like, I love doing these types of episodes, and these are my most downloaded episodes because my listeners have questions just like what you have, Christine. So it's very relatable. So is that making sense so far?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Any worries or hesitation about doing something like this on your show?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm open to it all.
Okay, cool. Now the trick for you is going to be to keep it very simple. Like, we're going for like 25, 30 minutes here. I think on your show, I would almost keep it to like 15. I think it's just like
Okay.
short, impactful, one pinpoint focus point. Go deep into that, get them one action step that they can use to initiate momentum, to break through their ceiling of frustration that they've created,
Yes.
or to break through that next level. But I think that's kind of going to be kind of the appetizer. And you do lots and lots and lots of these types of episodes, your expert positioning, in addition to your solo episodes, really ramps up. And all of a sudden, when you have your online course, or maybe you've got a little online boot camp that you're going to do to kick off the new year or
Mhm.
whatever, and you talk about that, people are already viewing you as their virtual coach that's in their earbuds every week, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
so, and they've heard you coach and coach and coach. So the conversion of listeners into your best clients really ramps up. And I'll give you a target on this now, because I've been doing more research and I've had a lot more clients doing these types of episodes. And we're seeing the largest ramp up in conversion from listener into client when somewhere between 25 and 50 of these types of episodes have been released. So if you're releasing one per week like I do, that's going to be 6
Mhm.
months to a year of weekly episodes with a coaching style format, that
Right.
things really ramp up, because then people have listened and listened and listened. They've heard me coach and
Mhm.
coach and coach. And then I've got
Mhm.
this thing that I talk about, and like, oh yeah, that sounds perfect. They're already kind of sold on it because they're just kind of waiting for me to put the right boot camp or offer or whatever out there that really
Right.
addresses their pain point, and then they're in. So is that making sense so far there, Christine?
Yes, it does. It definitely
Okay.
does.
Okay. I really think between that and the potential rebranding or the renaming, and just tweaking that a little bit, that brings the right listener. And then once you bring the right listener in, you can invite those right listeners onto your show to have a real experience with you, where you actually help them. The right
Yes.
listener all of a sudden becomes a super fan, because like, wow, I got eyeball to eyeball, voice to voice with Christine. I listen to her every week in my earbuds. And then all of a sudden we're having a conversation. This is awesome. You add
Yeah.
value, you create momentum in their life. And,
Mhm.
and I'll say this, some of those people will be like, hey, this was great. Can we work together? Like, they will just ask you that. So you have to be ready for that, because I wasn't at first. And
Yes.
when I started doing these in first person, it's like, hey, so can I hire you as my coach? I was like, what? He's like, oh, I better go create an
Yeah.
offer or something to do here.
Yeah.
So just be ready for that. Have that experience ready to go when you start doing these. And then as you release these, the expert positioning ramps up, and every conversation you had, like, you don't have to be a salesperson or feel or be salesy, because your content has already positioned you as the person that they want to work with. And then when the timing's right,
Yes.
it just starts to happen. And we love that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Okay.
all sounds
Now,
great.
okay, cool. So I think those are two really, really solid focus points. And from there, I mean, with you, with what you're trying to do, things will grow. And then we can always add sponsorship on as kind of like a cherry on top of the sundae. And, as you build your social media following, as you build your podcast listenership, as you build like an email list and things like that, those are all assets that potential brand partners will be very attracted to. And then, like, I could see you partnering with a meditation app, or different health products and things like that. People that are on a personal growth journey, there are
Nice.
certain things that really
Yes.
align with that. So if I was you, what I would do is start looking at those types of company. Like if you use like an infrared sauna or a different health or a journal or anything that you use on your own journey, start reaching out to
Okay.
those people. Those may be
Okay.
people that you do want to bring on your show for an interview. I would just
Right.
start building relationships with them. So
Yes.
for another example, when I had my health show, I brought on a research and development person, a scientist, basically from an infrared sauna company. Got to know them, got to know some of their promotional people. I became an ambassador, and they end up sending me a free $5,000 infrared sauna as part of like a brand ambassador deal. I'm like, okay, that was super cool.
Nice.
And then they sponsored some of my stuff. They spoke at an events, but it was like a 3-year
Mhm.
friendship that I built, that I used my podcast to initiate that. And I just added value. They added value to me. We added value back and forth. And it became a very fruitful relationship for both of us as I grew my show and my brand, and as their company grew as well. And they were able
Mhm.
to invest in brand partnerships and sponsorships. So keep an eye out for those types of companies that you really like vibe with. You're like, these people are super cool. They're kind of my
Okay.
type of people. I love their programs, products, or services. And just start building relationships with those people. Invite them on, do a giveaway together, do a review of their product on your show or on social media, all that sort of stuff. Now's a great time just to start planting those seeds. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, it does. Yes.
Okay, cool. So 3 focus points. Focus point number 1, homework wise, I want you to really look at the name. And again, like, look at those check boxes. When I hear it, do I know who it
Okay.
is, who it's for, what it's about? Is there a keyword in there? And is there some sort of identifying term where they go, oh, that's me? So
Okay.
we'll look at that. Then I think exploring coaching style episodes, that's going to be a no-brainer. Like, that's going to be very effective for you. It's going to be great content. And I would just grab somebody that's probably been a client in the past, or a friend or family member, do a couple of those sessions, air them. And then when you air those episodes, make sure you let people know how they could sign up. And if they listen, like, wow, I want to do that too. So that's very important. And then I think the third thing is, let's just start building relationships and play the long game with potential brand partners. Sound cool?
Okay. Yeah, it does. I
Lots of
can
homework.
do
I'm
that.
that teacher. I give lots of homework. So, all right, let's make sure we've got some time to shout out your show again. So, if you want to connect with you, maybe there's a great potential brand partner out there listening, and they want to get a hold of you. How do they get in touch with you and check out everything you've got?
They can email me at kuanyincenteroflight@gmail.com. And I will be happy to engage anyone who's interested in my show. And hey, I'm open to everything. So let's go for it.
Outstanding, Christine. I'm really excited for you. And I think that there's a ton of potential here for you in the new year. So I'm very, very excited to see what you do here when you implement. All right, Pod
Thank you.
Pals. If you want to be just like Christine and you would like to do a podcast audit, make sure you go to the website, podcastingbusiness.school, get signed up. There's a bit of a wait list, so you can hop on the wait list, and we'll see you on the show, Pod Pals. I appreciate you listening in. And I will send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We will see you next time.